Right. There's a bit of a gap. Not much. Got the fire in now. It's raining out, so I'm not... It's a funny day yesterday. I got some good work done. What did I do? Got the plastic down for planting the strawberries. Finished planting the onions. I've got the eschalots in and planted the garlic last year, so that's all in one bed. Got some weeding done. Oh, got some grass cut, whether it wanted to be cut or not. And frog and bug both worked fine. Because I bought bug because frog was playing up 2 ride-on mowers. Right. The Brothers Karamazov. I kind of mentioned it on purpose because it's reading of... Can we call it that sort of literature? Yes. Who said? It's kind of difficult literature. But you learn stuff. You get into the heads of people in Russia 100 years ago and to 130, 40 years ago. It was obviously the end of an age. It was obvious that the revolution was coming, but all the old traditions were there, and you just had to go with them. And if you, which play is it in? I think it's in the Cherry Orchard, isn't it? I think it's the Cherry Orchard where the servant says the best... Well, no, the worst time ever was the emancipation of the serfs, which was him. And he was kind of representing, just from the other side, how difficult it is to change what has been a multi-generational ways of life. And you learn things like how other people can live. Say if they're living up in the north of Russia, what you do towards the end of or the start of winter. You'd close your windows, stuff them all with straw, and then jam the shutters closed. And they'd stay closed for however long the winter was, 4, 5, 6 months, I don't know how long. And there was enough candles in the house, there was enough food and drink in the house, and enough logs in the house, or the logs were just close enough that somebody could go out and get them. And that was life for 5 months, let's say. You just stayed in the house and made your own amusements. And it's possible. It's another example, which is a strange one. I remember where I think I read it, so I think it's a credible source, that French peasants, not that long ago, let's say between 200 and 300 years ago, tried to hibernate, basically. Well, they kind of succeeded because they got themselves written about. At the end of the crop season, they basically... a dozen or a few dozen would cram into a room and try and do nothing for 5, 6 months because it was cheaper that way. And it seemed to a certain extent they succeeded. But what we have as modern people living in temperate climate is the availability which comes along with a desire to avail ourselves of everything that's out there. And publicity, social pressure, just about presses down on us enough to make us think that if we don't avail ourselves of everything that's out there, then we are not living a complete life. And this is where I come in with questioning of what a complete life could possibly be. We have to take into account all the Russians that lived through their winters and the French peasants that lived through their winters hibernating and just ticking over and making do, and all the other people that we would call human beings that have lived and died. There's been a lot of them. I think if I had to calculate, I'd probably say there would have been 7 billion of them, because there always seems to be a calculation you can make that the amount living now equals the amount that have ever been. And anyway, if we go just flop it back 7 billion people and say before that they were a different type of not quite human being, we'll call them beings of a human type. 7 billion people have lived and died. That's for sure. Whether that amount represents anything or not is totally debatable. They have lived and died. What was it all for them? They're dead. Here we come to the big why thing again of if everybody had lived for the good of society, then society's improved, and then the individual lives of people in society at a later date is improved. But that's the sort of thing that I'm trying to avoid for various reasons. It upsets my narrative. All I think we can think is, for now, as I say, I might come back to it, but for now we'll just think that all these people have lived and died like we are living and will die, and have had individual lives that could be described as this, that, or the other by them or by other people. But it all slips into huge unimportance compared to what we are doing right now. Our lives run in a reflexive sort of way where we are always looking at ourselves and are being satisfied with what we're doing or not satisfied with what we're doing. Now the fact is that absolutely all of that is always done in the past, because we never catch up to the past. We can never get ahead of it, as it were. It's always reflections on what is past. But that, we can say, is our main inner life. And I think we can say that there are people that lead happier, more contented, some other horrible word, better inner lives than other people. I don't think it's a terrifically bad idea to have a head that is happy to read books about Russian peasants and their goings on when it's a bit rainy and nasty outside, and when it's not rainy and nasty outside, to go outside and walk around, or if you want to be very exciting, to ride a bike, or to maybe go in a car, go camping somewhere, And let's do the camping thing. Let's say that camping should is such a terrible one, but could be considered to be a limit. As soon as you go more than camping, let's say buying a camping car or going to somewhere to stay in a hotel, I think it becomes more of the hurly-burly of the casting couch as opposed to the comfort of the double bed. That's an old quote. If you understand that quote, you'll understand what I just said. But if you don't know that quote, you won't understand what I just said. Because going camping, it's possible to take the bike or the bikes and go for a ride. It's possible to take chairs and just sit and sit. But if you start going to a hotel, you're going down to breakfast, you're going out to find dinner at night, you're going to the beach, you're going to... Do people have discos nowadays in hotels? To go dancing, or you're after... You could go skiing, similar. Hello, Sned. You're after something more. And what I think I'm trying to say in these videos, that the something more, in the long run, rarely, let's go for that, adds up to more than a well done less, as long as your head's in the right place. If your head's in the right place, you don't have to go skiing or hoteling, you can go camping. If your head's in another right place, you don't even have to go camping. You can just sit inside or sit outside or walk around inside or walk around outside and be... Let's say this is what this is number 3, isn't it? What this video is about. Is it a far, far better thing that we be content? Or is it necessary that we go one better than that and be excited and happy? I am obviously advocating for a level of contentment being better, superior, than the temporary buzzes of happiness. Contentment can be done 23 hours a day. Happiness and all the aiming for happiness is a very hit and miss affair, which can generally be achieved for about 7 to 8 minutes a day. Add your own number. Tell me about your own number. But I think I would recommend that going for the 23 hours, 55 minutes of contentment is a more reasonable thing to do than going for the 5 minutes of little spikes of happiness.